All right, Chapter 10, Information System Security. We're really getting to the home stretch here. System security and just internet security in general is something that you can use in your personal and professional life, and it's equally as important. There's a lot of threats out there. There are a lot of individuals that want to gain your personal information for either financial gain or to spoof your information. Maybe they want to buy stuff with your credit card, use your good credit for their favor. There's a lot of things out there that we need to be aware of. We can really group these into three categories. We have natural disasters that happen: fire, flooding, earthquakes. These cause damage to our data. They cause damage to our system. We have computer crime. This is hackers, phishing, spoofing attacks, theft, and even terrorist activity, all causing damage financially and data to our systems. And then, of course, human error. Accidents happen. You could be remodeling your office at work, and some contractors might damage some system by accident, of course, but this is going to cause some data loss and downtime for you. So what types of security losses exist? Well, a term here, pretexting. You might not be familiar with the term, but you're familiar with the practice. And the idea of pretexting is an individual is presenting himself as someone else in order to obtain private information. This could be as simple as cold calling somebody and saying, "Hi, I'm from the bank. I need you to confirm your social security number or we're going to lock your account out." A lot of people might laugh at that, but this happens to a lot of our older population where people will pretext, fish, or even spoof to fool them into giving social security numbers, critical account information. It could be even one thing where you get an email saying, "Hey, this is the bank. We need to confirm your password. We're doing server updates or something." Obviously, that sounds like a weird excuse, and it would never happen. No reputable company would do that, but this fools individuals. We also have drive-by sniffers, war drivers. These are people that sometimes physically drive around, or they just might position themselves in close proximity to an office. Use sniffing programs like Kismet to detect different types of wireless intrusion. You'll hear this as WIDS, W-I-D-S. There's a lot of vulnerabilities that you can just find out by looking at the wireless networks around you. And obviously, all of this is various forms of hacking. So, what about loss of infrastructure? We have human accidents, like we talked about before. Maybe you're doing some work in the office, contractors damage some information, theft and terrorism. These things happen. Corporate espionage and corporate terrorism is real, as any forms of terrorism. And it could be as simple as a disgruntled employee. Maybe somebody's getting fired in a scenario that they're not happy with, and they have a personal vendetta on the company, and on their way out, they damage some systems. This is real, and it happens in the corporate world. So what's the goal of information system security? Security is a trade-off. What is your risk and what is the cost of implementing those safeguards? And it's not just financial cost we're talking about. What is the ease of use for your end user? If you have a really robust system with two-factor authentication, you have a whole bunch of protocols, we're changing passwords every 25 days. They're 12 letters long, upper, lowercase, special characters. This makes the day-to-day job for your employees difficult. It can slow down progress. Employees might inadvertently get locked out of systems because of all these complicated safeguards. Yes, your system is incredibly secure, but if it's so secure that your employees have a hard time accessing it, it's almost not even worth it. So there is a balance. It can't be too secure, but it can't be too open. Some simple protective things. We want to make sure we're using antivirus. Delete your cookies. There are tracking cookies. There's some programs that'll do this automatically, what we'll talk about. But again, it's a trade-off. But you really have to think, computer crime can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. Hardware is relatively easy to replace. And yes, $20,000 may seem like a lot, but if you're a large multinational company, a $20,000 server really isn't much in the grand scheme of things. But what can be much in the grand scheme of things is insider attacks, bad SQL injection code, denial of a service attacks. These get into the hundreds of thousands of dollars. sometimes even per day if you go into a really long denial attack. So how do we respond to security threats? Well, we want to make sure that we have protocols in place, that we have a robust and strong network that people can't get into. The easiest thing is take security seriously. Security is everyone's issue. Anybody that has access to a network, whether it's a corporate network, the network at school, or even your home network, security is everybody's problem, and they all need to take it seriously. We need to have strong passwords. And I'm not saying it has to be 15 characters, special characters, numbers, and letters, but make sure you don't have any unique identifying things in there. Don't have your pet's name. Don't have a date of birth. These are very easy things that an individual can find. I can go on your Facebook page. I can see pictures of your dog. I know when you're born. I can put these into programs that are designed to brute force attack passwords. I just need to feed them a little bit of information about you, and I'm probably going to get your password. It's just a matter of time. Make sure you use multiple passwords. Don't have one password that you use for all of your accounts. Be very careful about how you send valuable or personal data. Email is not secure. Instant Messenger is not secure. Unless your company has encrypted email or you use an encrypted messenger app. And even then, that's still not 100% secure. Sometimes it's better to pick up the phone, call somebody, walk across the office, and actually have a conversation with them, or hand carry things. If you're going to websites, make sure it has HTTPS. That S is important. That shows that it's secure. That shows that there is encryption, especially if you're using your credit card or buying something. We talked earlier about cleaning cookies, so we want to clear our browsing history. CC Cleaner is a really good program. I've used this for years. I think it does an excellent job at, taking rid of some temporary files and some tracking cookies from your system. Having an antivirus system or any malware program itself isn't good enough. We need to make sure we update it. We need to make sure we actually use it and run the scans. And be open with coworkers or even family members about security concerns. The security is everyone's issue, and we need to make sure that we're all working together. The book talks about Black Hat 2015. This is a yearly conference. Black Hat is a world-leading information security event where hackers and industry get together to talk about weaknesses and exploits in devices. We see a lot of talk on Internet of Things devices, IoT, smart light bulbs, or even Ring cameras that people have on their door. So it's a little peephole with a camera in it. So when you're on vacation, you could see people coming up to your door and talk to them. I think it was a year and a half ago, there was a lot of commotion about vulnerabilities in some of these home security systems, where a war driver can park outside and get into your home network, and they have access to your camera system, so they know who's in the house, and if they were going to break in, they can time this and already have a layout of your network. How many people actually change the admin password that comes with your router? If I know you have a Comcast router, I know what your password convention is going to be, and you're probably still using the default username and password. So it wouldn't be hard for a war driver to get into your network. So how do organizations respond to these security threats? Well, we really want to have good, robust policies. And we want these policies in place before we have an issue. So part of this policy breaks down where our data is stored, what types of data we have, what is sensitive, what is not sensitive. We want to have a good network map of where everything's stored and what type of classification it is. This way, if we do have a breach, we know what is affected and we know what's not affected, especially if we share that data with other companies or contractors. We need to draw the line in the sand, say this is affected, this is not affected, and then we can proceed forward mitigating any of the risks that we have already. Hey, we saw this before. Chapter 1 and 2 are 5 components. Hardware and software, this is our technical safeguards: encryption, firewall, virus protection, malware protection. We need to have data safeguards. Who has rights and responsibilities to what data? Maybe, not everybody needs to have write permissions. Not everybody has to have read permissions, depending on what the data is. We really need to segregate the data based on user roles. And we need to make sure that that data is stored properly. When we do backups, A lot of places will do off-site backups. So at the end of the day, they'll do two separate backups, usually on hard drives. One hard drive will stay in the office, and one might go off-site to another secure facility. And on a personal note, if you're not backing up your data on your personal computer, you really need to. The cost for external drives or even large USB thumb drives have come down so inexpensive. There's really almost no reason to back up your data to prevent catastrophic data loss. And we have human safeguards too. You want to make sure we hire good, responsible people. We train them in our safety procedures, and we educate them on proper use of the company network and company assets. How can data safeguards protect against security threats? What kind of safeguards do we have? We want to have encryption. We want to back up our data. Physical security. We don't want anybody just getting into our office and getting onto our network. Data administration. This is where we talk about different user profiles. Does your HR individuals really need access to all the finance folders? Does finance need to really go into business operations? If we segregate certain business aspects only to the people that work on it, we can help mitigate a lot of these potential failures and potential risks. Human safeguards are really important, and this goes into good hiring practices. Again, we're talking about segregating duties, determining the least privilege somebody has. We don't want to give somebody too much access. You need to have just enough access to do your job. But really, hiring and screening is incredibly important. We want to make sure that their resume is correct. The jobs they said they worked before, they actually did. Integrity and honesty is so important in corporate security. We can't have a bad actor coming in and having access to all of our information. It's too easy for them to export this data off-site. And human safeguards for non-employees personnel. Think about it. Sometimes we have a janitorial or custodial staff that are contracted. We might be doing renovations in the office. We might have other companies visit us. We have somebody that comes in once a week to fill up our coffee machines and our vending machines. Well, they don't work for us, but they need access to our spaces. So, we train this individual. We make sure they know, hey, don't go on our computers, don't go on our Wi-Fi, don't bring your cell phone in our office. And, these sound like common sense things, but, corporate espionage is real. It's a big threat out there. It's something that large companies and even small companies can't afford to miss the mark on. So how should organizations respond to security incidences? Well, we want to have a plan in place. We want to have this plan in place before we have an incident, and we want to practice this plan. Just like we practice fire drills, we want to practice our corporate security incidents reporting. We want to have centralized reporting. We want to set up a command center. Typically, it would go through your IT department and some upper management. But we want to make sure that people know, where do they send information? When we find different vulnerabilities, or when we find maybe there was a break-in, and we want to make sure all the information goes to one person. That we want this to be a speedy process. We want to be prepared, and we don't want to make it worse. We don't want to make it seem like, oh, this is a huge catastrophic event. Sometimes it's not. Fear is horrible in this. We want to make sure that employees understand exactly what vulnerability was accessed, what data is corrupted, or what data is vulnerable now. It's all about being open and honest. And it kind of circles back to security is everybody's issue. Everybody needs to play a hand in it, and we need to be open and honest. So that's going to round up Chapter 10. Keep working on your homework. If you have any questions, whether it's about the homework or just data security in general, please let me know.